be. I want to see as many Willamette Speedway, Cottage Grove, Sunset. I want to see the Oregon fans down there because last year, I'm going to tell you this, the Oregon folks traveled very, very well. Not only did we have, we had a few race cars. Tanner was down there, Weinbarger, Bryson James. We had Kyle Yack down there, got a top 5 finish in the modified. We had some good race car drivers down there, some great teams represented. Not just in the pit area was Oregon represented, but in the grandstands. We saw a lot of Oregon people down there, and that is always fun because we're interacting with them, and the people that are the California fans start looking like, hey, who's this announcer? Now that they know me down there, they're going to get introduction to Josh this year. But it's going to be a fun deal, the three of us working together. But it's fun to see the Oregon folks in the stand because they sit all over. They don't sit as a group.
Right.
So you can walk. Now, the grandstands at Bakersfield start, from where our perspective is, they'll start in turn 1. They wrap the entire front stretch and all the way around to just this side of the apex of turns 3 and 4.
Wow.
And they're full. I mean, this is a big deal.
So we're talking 9,000 people.
You get it somewhere. I mean, all together, yeah, it's a big deal. The Bud Nationals. This is the 31st or 32nd, 20. See, I was there for 28, 29, 30. So 31. This is the 31st annual Bud Nationals, and I'm not kidding when I say it gets bigger every year. Every year, the fans,
awesome.
The cars, the sponsors, the whole. I mean, Schweitzer does a fantastic job of promoting that event. Much like Chris is doing, he works on it all year.
We should have him on the show.
We will. It's something that we've talked about, and we just didn't have time with all the Iron Giant and Chris coming in and stuff. We just didn't have time for this week, and I want to give him some time to talk about it. So probably next week we'll have Scott on the air. He's all for it, and we'll be talking with some of the California guys. Last time we had Clay Daly on the phone, he straight called Trevor Glaser out.
He did.
He says, "Hey, you came down here 2 years ago, and you took some of my lunch money. I'm coming back up there to get some of it back." No, he didn't do it. He wasn't being a jerk about it.
He was good about it.
Him and Trevor, they talk. There's no animosity there, but it was fun to hear that little bit of rivalry. Now, what happened when Clay got up here was probably different than what he imagined would happen. But
it was a different story for some of the California boys.
Well, you don't show up at Willamette if
think
you're not
to dominate.
Well, you don't show up to Willamette if once a year and think you're going to win.
That's right.
I don't care how good you are. The competition at Willamette Speedway.
Well, look at Rob Mayo. Look how fast he was.
Well,
he
Rob
looked
Mayo,
like a
John Duty, Justin Duty. Look at, Bryson was fast in his late model. You've got, Jeremy Shank. Joey Tanner. You go through the list of the A main at Willamette Speedway, and there's not a car in that field that isn't capable of winning it. That's
right.
what makes Willamette so great. You can go anywhere in this country at a dirt track with late models, anywhere in the nation, on a week-to-week basis. And I'm not talking about a traveling series. I'm not talking about Lucas Oil late models or anything. I'm talking about
I would put those top 5 that you just talked about with those guys, though.
But what I'm saying is you can go anywhere in this country on a week-to-week basis, and you will not find a tougher field of cars every Saturday night at a racetrack like you do Willamette Speedway.
That's right.
You won't.
And the hired guns that they have. Look at Willamette and the hired guns they have. We had Joey Tanner jump into the
Street
36.
Stock. Colin Weinbarger in the 34.
The 34. Go
Yak.
back to the Clare Cup. Or you had Yak in his 47 and his dad's old ride. You go back to the Clare Cup. You had Kyle Yak and Ron Brewster's 31B. You had Matthew Drager show up and was in the 20 car Josh Sim.
Right.
You look at it, Willamette Speedway is a talent-packed
Willamette Speedway is
facility.
Here's what I'll say on the West Coast. On the West Coast, if you want to make yourself a name on the West Coast,
Willamette Speedway is the way to do it.
You've got to win at Willamette.
So I got a question for Chris. So the tracks and stuff that you've been at, right? You've been all over and stuff. You've been down to Grove. You've been down to Coos Bay, Elma, all that type of stuff. What is the hardest track? And just because we've been talking about Willamette, what is the hardest track, technical-wise, as a driver, that you've driven on?
That's a tough one. They're all got their own different ways of doing things. I've won at every track. I've never been to Elma yet, but I've won at every track I've been at. Actually, my first main event win was at Lebanon back in '95.
Yeah,
that was my first win. But I went on a long streak without winning there for a long time.
So when it comes down, go ahead.
But when you're running against guys like Yak and Kronk and
right,
it's next to impossible to win. You have to have all your ducks in a row, and you have to be on your A game
and have a little bit of luck.
Yeah,
and
when you get a top 3, you better be walking away with your chin up high.
Mm-hmm.
So then it falls into the next question is what is the funnest track that you've been at?
Grove's fun when it's hooked up. When that thing's hooked
those
up,
aren't banks at Grove; those are cliffs.
Oh man,
those are awesome.
You can skydive off those.
Yeah, you can fly around that thing.
Yeah.
I ran a 14.6 there in a street stock.
That's fast.
Quick.
That's getting around pretty good.
Yeah.
That's way quick.
Now, I wish you had a ride for the Bud Nationals. I just wish you could get on there because what you would see there this goes back to the question you just asked, what's the hardest track?
Mm-hmm.
You'll hear a lot of guys that have been to Bakersfield mention that because I'm talking about Bud Nationals weekend. It's the craziest thing to watch. You show up night one. Typically, you can count on a hammer-down racetrack where you can use the motor. You can put the car, you can drive it in just to be aggressive. The car's hooked up. Track's hooked up. And it's all, you're seeing, 12, you're flirting with 12-second laps. 13, low 13s is the track record right now. And I was there and called it when Drake broke it. And I'm going, whoa. Now,
13 seconds?
But here's the thing. That track, it's a little smaller than Lebanon. A little smaller. It's not banked as much. Night number 1, it's just badass fast. Hooked up. Hammer down. Night number 2, you show up and start racing. Whole different ball game, buddy. It's like you went to 2 different states because night number 2, the track dries out so fast. It's burned up. It's slick from top to bottom, wherever the top will be because it develops. There's some, I don't know what kind of clay they have down there on that track, but it is strange. It's black. It is black.
That was my next question.
But here's the thing. As the race progresses on night number 2, and we saw this 2 years ago, the cushion built up to about the middle groove.
It's like a berm.
And stopped.
It's like a berm.
They built a curb all the way, all the way through both corners. At each end of the track it was about halfway up, and the cushion was about 8 inches deep.
So listen to this.
Now, if you jumped it like Steve Moore did in the heat race, all 4 tires off the ground, airborne, Dukes a hazard. You're waiting for the horn. You're waiting for the horn like Dukes. I'm not kidding you. And then there's 8 cars blowing by you. Okay? Last year, we show up to race, just like I said, fast on night number 1. It was great. It's hooked up. It's fast. Night number 2, you know what to expect. It's going to be dry, slick, and burned up. And it was dry, slick, and burned up from the top, clear up against the fence.
Now, see, that's the question. Is that this is? I've been watching videos and because I haven't been to Bakersfield and I've been looking at stuff all the way back to 2012. And then last year's deal. And you're right. I was going to talk to you about that. I was actually going to talk to you about it off air because it's the craziest thing. I've watched both nights. I've watched Race Feed X is there. They televise it. They do a pretty good job. And you start looking at some of that, and it's like, what the hell? Night 1 is literally,
it's go time.
It's brown. It's fast. It like you're talking about, it's hooked up. You can see dirt flying. Night number 2, it's like a sheet of black ice.
The track looks asphalt. It's dark. It's just black.
The curb you're talking about, it is. It's like they go and they set the right rear, and it just digs. It's almost having like
But
a
the
plow.
thing about that is you don't know where that cushion's going to stop because we've seen it stop. I'm not kidding you where it was a groove and a half from the bottom of the track to where the cushion just built and locked up. It stayed there. Didn't move up like you see at Willamette.
Yeah, it's just
Then the
weird.
next year, there's no cushion at all. It's up against the fence, and you've got guys running 3 wide from the bottom, dragging the right rear, Rob Maya's groove. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a technical track for one, and it's a track that is going to test whatever driver gets on it and whatever chassis because it's tricky. It truly is. It'll have you scratching your head, especially your first time there. Now, my first experience with Bud, when it wasn't even the Bud Nationals, it was actually an open show when I was crewing for David Hawks back in '96. We just got back from Eldora, and Tony Whitney and David got to talking and said, everybody leave the shop. Season's over. Set the car down here. See you guys in 2 weeks. We'll get back to work in 2 weeks. So I literally did not talk to any one of those guys for 2 weeks. Showed up at the shop. Okay. I get a phone call at my house. This is how it started. I got a phone call at my house. Tony says, where are you? I said, well, I'm getting ready to come out. I'm at the house. He goes, you better show up. He goes, we got work to do. I said, work to do. I said, season's over. We're going to tear the car apart and clean it up. He says, no, we're leaving for Bakersfield in 2 days. You got to get this car done. I said, I got to get the car done?
Are you kidding me?
He goes, you better get out here. So I get out there, out to Brooks, get out of the car, walk in the shop. Here's David's car, the U1 car, the Shaw chassis, sitting there in the shop up on stands. What has Tony done? Put it on stands, took the wheels and tires off.
Walked away from it.
I said, what are you doing? He's cleaning parts to his car he's going to race next season. I said, we're leaving for Bakersfield in 2 years and you're cleaning parts on your car for next year? He goes, I'm not getting that car ready. You are. I said, what the hell's going on here? You know, he goes, let's see what you learned.
Whoa.
I'm going,
You talk about going to one of the biggest tracks.
Well, check this out. This is an open comp show. You know, I said, so what are we doing? He tells me about the track, what it is. So anyway, I did learn a lot that year. And so Tony, this is what I'll do. This is what I would do. Tony would say, all right, okay, go ahead. You know, and it was kind of my test at the end of the season with Tony. Well, when it was all said and done, Tony, said, okay, this is what I would change. It was a couple little things we changed. We had the big board on the car, not super big, but, the 65-inch board we ran at Lebanon. Now we get down to Bakersfield, and this is the feature, okay? This is the feature. You'll have a late model with a 10-foot sideboard completely down the left side of the car.
I remember those.
Okay. You'll have next to you another late model with the big sideboard and a sprint car wing sitting on it.
Yep.
You'll have an IMCA modified ahead of you with a sprint car wing and, a big board. I mean, it was just like it was 77 Monte Carlo or whatever. It was a big old Monte Carlo street stock where the sideboard made the show against these late models. I'm going, what is this? I've never seen anything. I mean, I've seen some open comp shows at Willamette, but not like this. Steel-bodied stock cars on DOT tires, making the feature with IMCA modifieds and open comp late models. I mean, it was absolutely insane, totally nuts. So we get out there, and there was 3 cars from Oregon that went down. There was us, Dave Goulet, and Rob Maya, and we were one of the last cars to qualify. And this was crazy. They watered the track and said, "Okay, we're getting ready to go qualify. We need all the cars on the track to pack it." So they got to pack the track. 2 hours it took to pack that track.
Are you kidding me?
2 hours because they couldn't get anybody. I mean, the cars go up and just slide. I mean, they put so much water in it. It's 105 degrees out in October in Bakersfield. We're sweating like pigs, and it took 2 hours to pack the track. Once we got to qualifying, it was complete. And those Kalamazoo when they put the big the asphalt cars with the like Randy Sweet and those guys. It was kind of like a world championship in qualifying. Who can break the track record? It got broke like 14 times that day. We end up with it with like 4 cars to go. We've got the track record. David's car, he had it at it was back then. It was like 13.6. I mean, it was fast.
Was that the Highwaller car?
No, that was the U1 that David Hawks had.
The yellow one.
It's yellow and blue. Yep. The one we took to Eldora. Still had the Eldora body on it with the big board, and so.
I remember Gole's car in 95.
Now, okay. So
you're talking
about Goulet. Yeah, that was that car.
Yeah.
Okay, that was before it was a Highwaller's car. He had it.
Okay.
So it had the number 10 on it. So Rob Maya goes out and breaks track record. Then Bugsby came out and broke it, and then Dave Bird came out and broke it, and Drake broke it, and all these California guys are breaking it, and we were one of the last cars. There was like 4 cars behind us. Dave goes out and breaks it by like 2/10. I mean, just like had a pretty good lap. I'm thinking, man, this is cool. We're gonna break the track record, knowing it when we leave here. Yeah, that was really cool till Dave Goulet went out and just destroyed it. I mean, he had that car you're talking about. He had we didn't have the big sideboard, but he had the big posse style sideboard. He goes out and just, never lifted for 3 laps, and ended up breaking it by another 2/10. I mean, I think the track record fell by like a second and a half that day. It was just nuts, and he ended up with the track record there for a while, and then we were running. I think we were running right behind Maya. We were running 4th and 5th with Maya, and when somebody got sideways, collected Maya, and then it collected us, and we tore up the right front. We're still in the lead lap. So they get the car off the track, and they get it back to the end of the trailer. And Dave gets out, and Dave's mad and throws the helmet in the trailer and, rips his suit off. We're only on, like, lap 9. It's a 50 it's a 50-lap show, or, no, it was about the halfway point. So I spend this entire caution period getting the right front put together. I grab a tire, that was close to the right size off the off the tire rack. I throw it onto the right front, set the pressure